Good morning, my friends. I hope it has been a highly productive week for you so far. Hope everything is going well for you. So, just coming at you with a quick life update on how the last week has been on the social side of things, because, one of the main topics, one of my main areas of interest for this channel is it doesn't matter where you've come from. It doesn't matter who you were in the past, whether you were that socially anxious, shy kid, whether you had no social skills whatsoever, whether you were abysmal with girls. It doesn't matter where you've come from. Literally within a few weeks of deliberate practice of, as cliche as it sounds, getting out of your comfort zone and forcing yourself into those uncomfortable situations, that is all it takes to turn things around and feel a million times better about your future, about your social life, and to really embrace a new lifestyle. So, as I touched on, one of the ways I've been doing that, like my philosophy for the longest time has just been try and get uncomfortable every single week or every single day if I can. Like, do something that puts me on my toes, that really gets my heart racing, pretty much something that I just don't want to do at all. And for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been tackling this area of my life that, I felt like was lacking for some time. And that was my dating life. Because, my life right now, I do my 9 to 5. Half the time I'm working from home. I'm not really spending that much time outside of the house. I've got my YouTube to contend with. I'm trying to grow that. And that's obviously been a blessing for me. But there's limited opportunities to actually get out there and meet girls. I'm not wholly against dating apps like a lot of other guys are. Like I've uh, I've had some good experiences. I've had some fun dates from dating apps. But my philosophy is, why not try it all? If I'm gonna be on these apps, why can't I also be out in the fields, out on the streets, cold approaching and trying to meet girls? And for the longest time, the answer was, I'm too scared. It's a fucking super challenging thing to do. It is super anxiety inducing to stop a girl in the middle of her routine, in the middle of her day, like as a stranger, and start like telling her I think she's cute or, you know, all of this. It's a super challenging thing to do. And not many guys are comfortable with that. But for me, like being scared of that for so long, being pretty much terrified by the idea of cold approach, I figured this is the thing that I have to go after relentlessly. I have to turn this thing, which has been like a massive fear for me for most of my life, and turn it into something so incredibly small that, it's like you wonder why it ever bothered you before. But I don't want to, I want your expectations of me to be in line with what the reality is of my life. Like, I'm still fairly new to this. I'm learning so much. Like, I really am trying my absolute best, but the reality is I am not a pro. And that is absolutely fine because I feel like I have the tenacity, I have the determination to go far with this. But, part of the fun of making these videos is I make mistakes. I fuck up. I have the awkward moments, and then I can pass on those lessons to you. And whilst there is value in obviously you making your own mistakes, it's like, if I can give you the shortcut to avoid that pain, to avoid making you a fool of making a fool of yourself, then that's a win for me. But yeah, I am by no means an expert at this. I fumble regularly with girls in these interactions. I do make a fool of myself. I do get rejected, and that's part of the process. But yeah, so I'd say in the last week, it's been a strange one because I've definitely reached some highs that I've never reached before. Like, I've had a lot of good feedback, and I've pushed myself further than I've ever gone before in terms of the volume of approaches. But also, simultaneously, I've experienced some of my most. I'm reluctant to use the word brutal because it sounds like it's really affected me, but let's just say some of my most brutal rejections, you know, you are always going to get a few outliers because the majority of my rejections, they are fairly neutral. You know, it's like 5 seconds, the girl politely tells me she has a boyfriend, and that's fine. Like, absolutely no time has been wasted. We can both get on with our day, have a nice day. That's absolutely fine. But I'll just tell you what happened. So, a couple of times, maybe like 2 instances, I've stopped a girl, it's like a moving approach on the street. I've stopped a girl, I've got her attention, I've opened the set, as they say, and she's engaged me at first. She's looked at me, she's kind of listening to what I have to say, but then she just looks freaked out. She looks scared, bro, like she wants to be somewhere else, like anywhere but with me. And she just kind of like hurries along, like away from me. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, when you get rejected in that way, it does make you wince. Like, okay, so you've stopped me and like you heard what I had to say, but it was that traumatizing that you literally just not ran away, but you literally just left immediately. You know, how does that make me feel? It's not good. It's like, what have I said to her? Does she think I'm some kind of freak? Am I coming across like this to all of the girls that I'm speaking to? Am I like physically repulsive? Are girls finding me ugly? Your brain can really spiral out of control in these situations. And all of the good feedback that I had all day, I had gotten some numbers that day, but it's like my brain's negativity bias has taken over. And I'm at risk of throwing away all of that positive momentum because of this one negative reaction, these like 1 or 2 negative experiences that I've had. And it's in this situation that I like to remind myself of something that one of my good friends taught me a while ago. And he told me this advice after I'd been on a date which I thought went very well. I thought I'd had a pretty good connection with this girl, and we had a good time. We got some food. I was making her laugh. All for me at least, all the signs that this date had gone positively. And then I'll wait to hear back from her the next day, and it's nothing. It's radio static, and I think, oh, she might just be busy. She said she was going to go hang out with some friends tomorrow. Cool. Okay, I'll wait for her. Then the next day, nothing. And the next day, nothing. And just so on and so forth. And again, that's kind of, it's not ruined me, but at the time, I hadn't been on that many dates. It's quite a challenging thing for me to do, to like really put myself out there in that way. And I've just gotten ghosted. And worst of all, I think this date has gone really well. So, what's the deal? So I tell my friend about this, and he tells me, look, I've been in this situation before, and the worst part is you're left not knowing. You don't know what you did wrong that has caused this girl just to not want to speak to you anymore. But he said, you see, not knowing it can be considered a curse, but it also can be a blessing. So his advice to me was, because we have a tendency to focus on the negative, to immediately assume that the reason she didn't hit me up again was because she found me ugly and she didn't tell me, like she didn't like the way that I looked, something deeply personal about myself, or, that conversation topic that I found really interesting and I thought she was into. I was actually putting her to sleep with that, and she found that the most boring conversation she'd ever had with a man, and didn't want anything to do with me after. So rather than assuming the worst case, that would be the worst case scenario. If you don't know what the reality was, if you don't know why she made her decision, and you likely never will know why. Why do I have to make it such a negative? Why do I have to make it something about me? Wouldn't it be much better to do yourself the justice of assuming the best case scenario, of making it seem like, okay, I don't know the reason she ghosted me, but why would I not assume that it's something, favorable about me? Like, okay, I'm on this date. I think it's going really well. And that's because it is going well. Like, I'm super confident. I'm projecting this confident, charismatic energy, and she's into it. But on the walk home, she starts to really deep that. She's like, why is he so confident? He must have had loads of practice with girls. What, am I just like 1 in 5 girls that he's seeing? This guy must be a player. Like, I'm going to get one over on him and I'm going to block him. I'm going to ghost him because he's too good. And, that might seem kind of far-fetched. Like, that might sound like I'm creating this whole narrative in my head. And that's the truth. Like, I am constructing this whole narrative in my head. But why would I not pick a narrative that favors me, that allows me to save face and hold on to my self-worth, to not experience that as a knockback? Because, you might think it's delusional to come up with a story like that in your head about how, oh my God, I was too confident. But you have to recognize that it is equally delusional, if you don't know the true reason, to start making it about you, to start making it about how you were ugly, or, how it was some fatal mistake that you made. You would be delusional not to even weigh that up as a possibility. Do you get what I'm saying? So in this instance where I'm cold approaching and this girl looks freaked out and ends up leaving, why would I not tell myself that instead of me being physically repulsive and, I make girls just want to run away from me because I'm that ugly, why would I not tell myself that, this girl, she has a boyfriend, and she didn't tell me she had a boyfriend, but the reason she didn't tell me is because she is the most fiercely loyal girlfriend in the whole world. She is so fiercely loyal to her man that she won't even entertain a conversation with another man. Like, she is absolute wife material, but not for me. So the second another guy tries to engage a conversation with her, she's off. Like, another potentially far-fetched narrative in my head, but for me, that is the narrative that I chose. Or if we're being a little bit more realistic, what if when I stopped her, she was on the way to meet up with some friends, her best friends in the whole world, and she hasn't seen them in 2 years. She's so excited and looking forward to seeing them. But I stop her. I get her all startled, and she's willing to listen to what I've got to say. But midway through my sentence, she gets that reality check, like, oh my God, I'm late. I should have been there to meet my friend 20 minutes ago. I have no time whatsoever to engage this random guy. Like, I literally just need to stop talking to this guy and disappear. I should have been there ages ago. You know what I mean? Like, I am assuming the best case scenario rather than the worst, because I don't know what the reason was that she ended up doing that. And now I'm never going to know the reason. I'm never going to see this girl again. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. Like, this is not, just take this advice at face value. Literally, this can apply to so many situations in life. Like, just assume the best case scenario, the one that reflects the most favorably on yourself, so that, you're not killing off all that positive momentum. That could have been the end of my session right there. But because I assumed the best case scenario, I was like, let's keep it moving. Went on to approach like 10 more girls after that. It's like, do you see what I mean? It's like, do yourself the justice of assuming the best case scenario. That is all I have to say. So make sure you're getting out of your comfort zone on a consistent basis, face that discomfort head on, face those challenging, uncomfortable situations every single week at the bare minimum. But when things go wrong, because it's like what they say, it's fortune favors the bold. You're doing so much more than like 90% of people. You're doing the thing that people aren't willing to do. And by doing that, you're opening yourself up to rejection, to negative experiences, to, being vulnerable. But it's all about how you respond in those situations. Assume the best case scenario. Have a good day, my friends. I'll see you in the next one.